This week on Art in the Air, we explore the life and musical journey of the Canadian-born music director and conductor for the Northwest Indiana Symphony, Maestro Kirk Muspratt, now in his 20th season. Next, we speak with fine jewelry artist from India to the USA, Steven Shaikh. Our spotlight is with Carol Estes for Diversified Artist Visionaries November exhibit at Wild Rose Brewery.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m., plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. I'd like to welcome to Art in the Air Spotlight someone who's been on our show for various other things, but she's going to represent a different group. That's Carol Estes. She's going to talk about the group, it's nicknamed Dave, and she's going to explain the whole title, how it's changed from strictly a Dyer-based thing to now something more. And they've got an upcoming call for art for exhibit that's going to be at the Wild Rose Brewing Company. And tell us a little about the history. Carol, welcome back to Art in the Air Spotlight.
Aloha, Carol.
Thank you for having me back. The group is a nonprofit group, and it started in 2012 as the Dyer Arts Visionaries. And it was based out of Dyer, and it was designed to connect the art and artists with the Dyer community in Indiana. And then as the membership grew, so did our vision for exhibiting and going outside that area. So now we have changed our name to Diversified Art Visionaries, and we can be found at diversifiedartvisionaries.org. And we're basically consider ourselves like a collaboration of artists that present exhibits and shows. And we're always looking for new venues to exhibit and do, but that's basically what we do, and we love to share our visions with the communities in the area.
So how many members do you have in Dave?
We have probably about 25 or 30. The membership does change, flex in and out, but it's been a little difficult with COVID, and but we have about that many active members that represent Michigan, Indiana, Northwest Indiana, and Illinois. So we cover a good area of the art space, and we're always encouraging people to look us up and see what we do and join our group.
So you have a call to artists out for this next show that's going to be at the Wild Rose Brewing Company, and it's called Nothing in Return. I would love to know if the submission date passed, and you explain what you're looking for.
Yeah, Dave started a number of years ago with the Triptych show, and we have in the past submitted and held our shows at Paul Henry Art Gallery in Hammond, Promise You Art House in Highland, and the SIP2 in Highland. And what our Triptych shows are 3 words. This year, it's the phrase "nothing in return." And also, Dave has moved the venue all under one roof. So all three parts of the triptych show are at the Wild Rose Brewing Company. So basically what it is for the Call for Art is that we encourage artists to broadly explore and connect to the words that we have and try to use their vision, and using the word nothing, the word in, and then the word return. And our Call for Art, all the details are on our Dave Facebook page. And the submissions are open to any local artists, and the details of submission are on the Facebook page. And the submissions are open through October 29th. There is a cost for submission, but
And what is that?
there is a member and non-member submission fee. So I'd like people to go to the Facebook page so that it doesn't get confusing. But there's a price per piece that you can do. And I believe you can submit up to 3 pieces into each of the 3 categories. And the show does open November 13th. Our venue is at Wild Rose Brewing in Griffith, Indiana. It's one of our favorite venues, and it's a beautiful space and large ceiling, and it just houses art really well. And you'll be able to see the exhibit, which opens November 13th. Submissions are open and available to the artists through October 29th.
And how do you submit?
There is a Facebook page for the Dave group, and in it there is a call for art listed on our Facebook page. You can also email me at carol46350@gmail.com. I'll be happy to give you the link if you can't find it, because sometimes people have a tough time finding things on Facebook. And we have a Google form, and that Google form allows you to fill out all the details. It asks for everything that is needed, and then you submit through. And there is a juring process that is inside Dave that will go through to the pieces for the show. And we do have a juror. So the juror, when the show is installed, we do have a juror that's going to come and select some of the top pieces.
So the juror is actually coming in to do the awards, more or less,
Yes.
not selecting the show pieces.
No, there will be a minor vetting of some of the art just to make sure that it's family friendly and meets just some minimum standards, because we're going into a public space and a brewery. And Corey Hagelberg, which is an adjunct faculty member at Indiana University Northwest, he will be a juror. And he's also the co-founder of the Calumet Artist Residency. And their mission is to connect the artists with the community. And so we're anxious for him to come in, and he will be putting together some monetary awards. He will be selecting what his top favorite in each of the single categories of nothing, in, and return. And then he will also go through and make his choice of the top art piece that he feels maybe most represents the exhibit and the theme.
Well, we appreciate you coming on Art in the Air Spotlight. Carol Estes, representing Dave, the Diversified Artists Visionaries. And you can submit your art by going online and find out information on Facebook. Carol, thank you so much for being on Art in the Air Spotlight.
Thank you, Carol.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. And we'd like to welcome to Art on the Air a native of Crow's Nest Pass, Alberta, Canada. Today's guest has had his early training as a pianist. Then after leaving Alberta, he studied in St. Louis, New York, now is recognized as one of the outstanding figures in a new generation of conductors. He has garnered international critical acclaim as a born opera conductor, serving as music director and conductor for the New Philharmonic and DuPage Opera Theater, and of course, for the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra. Please welcome to Art in the Air, Maestro Kirk Muspratt.
Hi, Larry. Hi, Esther.
Hi, glad to have you on. Well, what we like to start off, Kirk, is talking about your background, kind of like your origin story. I always like to say how you got from where you were
Yeah.
to where you are now. So tell us a little about yourself.
I'll try to do it quickly because it's kind of a long story. So I grew up in a little coal mining village called the Crow's Nest Pass in the Alberta Rocky Mountains. I was a very fortunate human being in that God set me down in that place at that time because I lived around all immigrants, whether you're Polish, you're Czech, you're Scottish, you're Ukrainian, you're French, you're Italian. Everybody cooked their own food. There was an Italian hall. There was a Polish hall. There was you name it. Oh, of course, the Elks Hall, the Moose Hall, the Lions, like all that stuff. And everybody worked in the mine. My grandpa worked in the mine. My uncles worked in the mine. My dad worked in the mine. Everybody. And yet they brought their music along with their food and their culture with them. So, a thing like Dvorak is very normal in my little town. Not now, but then. A thing like Puccini in my town or Verdi was very normal in my town. And every kid, I'm talking about every one of my little neighbors, I was in the biggest graduating class in the history of Crow's Nest Pass High. We had 100 kids in my graduating class, but I think 90 of them all had piano lessons. It was just normal. It's sort of like you went skating and played hockey, and it snowed in the Crow's Nest Pass. And you also studied music. So the thing I'm preaching to you, Larry and Esther, as I tell you about my background, is environment is everything. If you grow up in a place where there's hockey and music, you will play hockey at some level. And by the way, the coach of the Blackhawks, Jeremy, played hockey in the Crow's Nest Pass. That's where he played his high school hockey. So he's going to become some kind of hockey dude, right? And about 8 or 9 of us in my graduating class of 100 went on to become musicians. So, you look at a class of 100 kids anywhere
That's pretty
else.
phenomenal.
Yeah. So if it was a huge chemistry lab in the school, which we didn't have, we just had sinks and a little beaker, then you would have become a chemist. And so I was very lucky to grow up there. And that's my long statement on environment.
So was there a piano in the home from birth on?
Yeah, thanks, Esther. My mom, as soon as she started teaching, she bought a piano and put it in the middle of my grandfather's front room because there was no other room. But she wanted music. So my first memory of music is actually playing on my grandfather's rug. He lived just across the alley from us. And I had my trucks and I was playing on his paisley rug in the front room and looking up at my brother playing hymns. My older brother, he played hymns. And I couldn't figure out what the pedals were doing. I thought the right one was the gas pedal on the piano because I saw him doing stuff. And my mother used to put me in there because she said if I was in there with Jimmy, I wouldn't go anywhere. I'd just sit there for a couple hours at a time and just sort of watch him and listen to him.
Do you remember that first experience of your fingers on the keys? What was that like? Did it?
My first memory of fingers on the keys.
Did you stick to it right away? Did it feel natural? Mm-hmm.
Well, my mother figured out early on because when she put me around Mrs. McKinnon on the porch, like half a block away, and she said, Mary, will you watch Kirk? Because they actually had a dog leash on my clothesline in our backyard because couldn't keep me in the yard. I would be running downtown to the trains where all the coal cars were. And it's like a mile away. And my mother would have to go chasing all over. But she found out that if she put me somewhere with a neighbor who played the piano, like Mrs. McKinnon, I would just sit on the veranda for 45 minutes. My mom could go downtown, go to shopping down, come back. And Mary would say, he just sat there like an angel. And I was not an angel. I was a little wild cougar dude. So she figured out. And on my first day of school, my mom picked me up from grade 1, and I told her she was going the wrong way to our house. And she said, oh, no, you're going to your piano lesson. And I said, well, what's that? I didn't know. But right away, my teacher, Mrs. Pinkney. And by the middle of grade 1, I was playing the national anthem for each class in the school. And because there used to be a piano, believe it or not, in classrooms, So I would go from grade 1 to grade 2 to grade 3, and I would play O Canada by November or something. So I guess God gave me some kind of natural, and I liked it because I was good at it, kind of, I'm not going to play for the Lakers, I play okay basketball, but, you gravitate to what you're good for.
Yes,
Maybe.
and all that positive feedback makes you want to keep trying.
Oh, yeah. And you get to get dressed up, and there's little social things where there's pie and cake and cookies and donuts at your teacher's house. And then you get to miss school and go to the music festival like Allstate or something. And then you get a trophy, and then your picture's in the paper, and you win $5. And it's all important to a kid. You know, I mean, you get a trophy. Okay, I'll practice a little bit,
So the piano was your starting instrument. Did you try any other instruments along your path?
Yeah, thank you, Larry. So here's the Crow's Nest Pass for you. In grade 5, we don't have, the place is very small. Okay, so there's no school music. But on Wednesday night at the high school, there's the Crow's Nest Pass Symphony, which is the second oldest orchestra in all of Canada.
Wow.
And what it's made up of is a bunch of adults who are usually, 90% non-professional, and you sit next to an adult on Wednesday night. And so in grade 5, somebody came to our school and said, most of you play the piano. What other instrument do you want to play? Like, what? I don't know. It's in the middle of spelling class or something. And so I thought this thing that had the 3 valves on it was a trombone. And so I said, I want a trombone because I thought it was very cool, And then, 3 or 4 weeks later, the man comes to my house, the man at the hardware store, and he opens up this trombone on my kitchen floor with my mother. And I said, that's not a, well, I was just confused because obviously I said trombone and I meant trumpet. But then what happens on Wednesday night is you go over to the high school and you sit next to an adult, and I have no knowledge of how I learned to play the trombone. I don't have any idea. And then on Thursday night, there's the Crow's Nest Pass Band. So you go across the street and you play in the Crow's Nest Pass Band. It's probably a way that your parents can get rid of you for 2 hours. It's absolutely calculated with hockey practices. So often I would show up later in my life in my sweaty hockey uniform, playing trombone for an hour and 45 minutes on Wednesday and Thursday nights. And I would go to my piano lessons too in my sweaty hockey uniform.
Did you miss the opportunity of not doing trumpet as opposed to trombone?
Oh, no. I don't know if you know my face, but I have very thick lips. So God protected me somehow. But you're a stupid moron. There's no way. Like, I could never play the French horn or the trumpet. Are you kidding? You need a really skinny embouchure. Mm-hmm. So trombone is fine for me. And I have to tell you a secret. Now, I know we're going to get flack about this, but trombone is much easier than trumpet. I got to tell you, it's like first position, second position, third position. I don't want to say a monkey could play a trombone, but if you're, sort of not a very focused teenager when you're 12 or 13, you can go to band and orchestra and sit next, and survive. Right. Play trumpet. It's more of a star-studded instrument. Yeah.
Yeah, being a trumpet player, I understand that. You have a lot of fingerings that, pretty rusty on that too. So it's I picked that up from that. So yeah, and trombone, of course, is the loudest instrument usually in an orchestra or a band. So
yeah.
So you did that like middle school, high school, and what was your early career thoughts? Were you thinking going into music, or were you thinking other things?
Well, when you grow up in the Crow's Nest Pass, because you don't go anywhere, there's no city around there. Pincher Creek is the next closest place. That's 30 miles away. And they had 5,000 people there. Okay. And they had 2 gas stations. Then Fort McLeod is 60 miles away. They have 3 gas stations and they have an A&W. Okay. I didn't have television. We had 1 channel, CBC, but only when I got to be a teenager. And you have no clue. I mean, I was so naive and so beautifully protected from anything in the world. All it was snow, hockey, your friends, music, school, beautiful mountains, nothing else. I was nothing bad at all. No violence, no anything terrible. So then when you have me on for 7 hours, I'll tell you Larry and Esther, but I went to St. Louis to study for a year because I'd skipped a grade. My mom didn't want me to go to university. I was not a good candidate to go to a dorm with a bunch of boys. Bad things. I would have been a bad citizen at that age. And then I went to New York to Juilliard for a year. And then I transferred to Temple University in Philadelphia. And then I went to school in Vienna for conducting. And then I worked in Germany for 2 years. And then I went to St. Louis to work for the St. Louis Symphony for 3 years. Then I went to the Utah Symphony to work for 2 years. Then I went to Pittsburgh to work for the Pittsburgh Symphony for 5 years. And now I end up in Chicago, Indiana. So it's a very... those things in life where you go, I don't really know. It's like getting on the airplane. You don't really know what's going on, but you're in the seat. It's like, okay. I go to a Blackhawks game once or twice a year. And
it's all one big great adventure anyway.
Yeah. I never would believe that I would have ever ended up in Chicago with my favorite hockey ever. It's just like, huh? And I'm still that way. I'm like, what? I live downtown in Chicago. No. This is some kind of interesting dream.
So you studied at Juilliard, got to Chicago, and then what attracted you to some of the orchestras that you were involved with before you got to Northwest Indiana?
Well, you get a call on the phone in Mönchengladbach, Germany at 2:00 in the morning, and they say, somebody saw you at the Aspen Music Festival. Would you like to come and audition for the assistant conductor job at St. Louis? And of course, it's one of your friends playing some silly joke on you. You're in Mönchengladbach, and you're 28 years old. And why would one of the great orchestras be calling you, So it's just, like in all of our lives, something happens where somebody sees you, you get a break. And then often the other thing happens where you should have had a break and somebody should have seen you and it didn't happen. So at that stage in life, and then people saw me in St. Louis and they needed somebody in Utah. It was a bigger job. Somebody saw me in Utah, and Pittsburgh it was a bigger job with more pay, with more conducting. Pittsburgh, a bigger orchestra. Sure. And so who knows? I think it's just God sort of and the cosmos throwing Kirk around a little bit. Like, here, go here. You're on the voyage like Columbus and the Maria, the Pinta, and you're just, okay, you'll end up in the new world. Not sure how to describe that.
Yeah, the analogy I sometimes is a lot of times people look at their life journey as a roadway, and I said it's more like a river, and you get kind of pulled along, and sometimes you end up on a bank where you never plan to stop, and then whatever skills you have, you pull out and start doing them. So I think that's sometimes a good analogy. So yeah,
because I never wanted to be a conductor. I never thought about it. Actually, it just something happened one day in Philadelphia. I woke on my girlfriend's couch, and I thought, this summer I'm going to improve my tennis game. I want to learn a little bit about karate. I used to read 50 books every summer, and I want to learn a little bit of Latin. And you know what? It would be good for me to go and learn something about conducting. I'll just go get some books and learn about it to be a better musician. And
right.
Never knowing that whole other 4-hour show that you'll do with me someday would lead to this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Because I never thought about it. It was like if you said, Larry, 2 years from now, you're going to dance in the Bolshoi. Okay. Right. And you go, huh? And if you'd said to me a year before I started learning to conduct, oh, you want to be a conductor? I'd say, are you crazy? I can't play for the Red Sox and I don't know anything about conducting and I'm not interested in it. But as you said, the river and the bank.
Right.
Oh, I was just going to say, so did you do the karate? Because I was going to ask you, do you enjoy dancing? Because conductors always seem like dancers to me. And as a young child listening to the orchestra, my ear would be pulled maybe to a musician when I heard something particularly exquisite. But other than that, I was fascinated by the conductor and what did those movements mean and what was the response to the orchestra. I was always trying to figure that out. Can you describe the process of learning that language and And then at one point, are you confident enough to create your own unique visual language within an orchestra? And how do you communicate that to them? My long question.
No, a very fascinating question, and something that a normal person like me, like I thought conducting was easy. I just saw this guy up there waving his arms, and he had weird hair, whoever he was, and stuff like that. And I thought, this is so much easier than practicing the piano 8 hours a day. All you do is you learn like a couple patterns, and then you go bigger or smaller, and then you tell people what they did wrong, and then you look really cool, and everybody claps for you. And it's actually one of the reasons that there are so few great and wonderful conductors in the world is that it is incredibly hard. And we can attribute this to, we can say, well, it looks like it's easy to be Johnny Carson, but the homework that the guy did, or it's easy to be Robin Williams and do a routine, the number of hours he spent, or it's easy to be Sophie in Sophie's Choice. Well, okay, the prep and the technique that Meryl Streep needs for that role as compared to French Lieutenant's Women or The Devil Wears Prada, the amount of work and technique she needs to own to be able to pull that off and have us believe her. And it's the same, what you do with your right hand, how you hold the baton, where your hand is in relation to your body, where it is in relation to the section you're looking at, how your eyes are, how your eyebrows are, how the attitude of your body to the orchestra. Is it oblique? Is it at 45 degrees? Is it straight on? Are your feet planted akimbo, or are they together? Are you on your toes, or are you hunched over? All of that stuff will help or assist or encourage a clarinet player, a snare drum player, a viola player to play a certain way. And there's a magic in it, because when you do a really hard piece that's going at 140 to a quarter, how do you keep that clarinet player, that trumpet player, that cello player, and that timpani player? I'm not talking about kind of together. I'm talking exactly. And to play the sforzando, or the accent that's on beat 4, and how you are already thinking about that 5 beats before. So what happens is, as you know, Esther, you're hearing the music and you're listening for what you can improve. You're thinking ahead 5 notes, 7 notes, 8 bars, something in your head, but you're beating in the moment.
Kirk, you can see when the orchestra is engaged with the conductor, because obviously hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours go into rehearsal, and it becomes kind of rote. And if you don't have that connection with the conductor, you're not going to get that excitement that you want from the performance. And that's what I love to watch. You can see when the orchestra is spot on engaged with the conductor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it is a very much a psychological thing, how you approach the podium, what words you use. Do you say something, or do you ask a question? How much time you take before you start, how you end a piece. All of it is, as you said, Esther, it's like a dance. It is like a dance, and it's a very particular dance.
So how do you riff on everything that you've learned? How do you develop your unique visual language?
It takes a long time, and I think some of it is like any of us. If you watch, I don't know, name a comedian, Richard Pryor, who learned things from Richard Pryor, about blah, blah, blah. How do you learn about hockey? So you watch Mario Lemieux play for the Penguins, and now, if you watch those games, he looks like he's in slow motion, Richard Pryor's comedy might not work today, but all the people that learn from him. So you watch the great people, and of course, some of it's just you have to intuit it. Because I never spend 1 minute moving my hands at home or anything like that. You learn a technique. In Vienna, they taught us how to conduct, how to use your thumb, how to use your finger, how to use your wrist, how to use your left hand, how to use your head, how to use your chest, all this stuff. And it becomes a technique. Like acting class.
My question, Kirk, is because we're getting down to about the last 3 minutes here, is what brought you to Northwest Indiana? And of course, there's a couple anniversaries coming up with your upcoming season. So let's talk about those two things. First, what's brought you to the symphony in Northwest Indiana? And, you've got a special anniversary for yourself and for the symphony itself.
Thanks, Larry. Yeah, I was like one of those, as we say in German, Zukunft, like just, what happened? I'm sitting at my desk in Pittsburgh one day and I get a call from Indiana. People had seen you, had talked about you. Would you like to come and audition for the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra? And I was like, yeah, okay. And I don't know if I'd ever been in Indiana before unless I was driving through it. So, I had to do some homework on this, like, crossroads of America. I knew about IU and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be my 20th anniversary. It's very special to me. Of course, I've made so many friends on a human level, on a musical level over there. It's been my home. We've gone through a great deal, just like in the last year and a half together. And so I'm looking back forward to being in person, of course, and all the beauty. And when I think about the orchestra, Larry and Esther, 80 years, when we do our concert on December 7th, it will be exactly 80 years, Pearl Harbor Day, since the first day of the orchestra. And that in Gary, the people in charge decided to have the concert that night after they had learned what happened, at Pearl Harbor that morning. And Gary was so instrumental in the war, so instrumental in the future of America. Still is, and we're going to start the concert with the Star Spangled Banner.
Well, that's appropriate. Well, we just have a couple moments here left, so I just wanted to say that the Holiday Pops concert, you have 3 performances, December 7th, 9th, and 10th, Living Hope Church. And then you also have other things in the season. Quickly, in the last 30 seconds here, tell us about what you have planned for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so this concert, the next concert is called Rock and Blue. It's Rachmaninoff and Rhapsody in Blue. It's a crossover concert as it has Rachmaninoff and Gershwin and Copland, but it also has Horner and John Williams. There's a wonderful Anne Frank concert that our chorus director, our amazing Nancy Menk, is putting together. And the piece is about the Diary of Anne Frank. We're going to do a movies concert later in May, which has, you name it, Independence Day, Captain America, Die Hard, stuff like that. And then we're going to do a sort of, a rock and roll show, but looking back at James Taylor, Carole King, Jim Croce, Gordon Lightfoot, Canadian. Hello. We're going to do that. So hopefully something for everybody, Larry.
That's great. Well, that's Kirk Muspratt, the maestro from the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra, also the New Philharmonic and DuPage Opera Theater. Thank you so much for coming on Art of the Air, and you can find out more about the symphony online at northwestindianasymphony.org. Thank you, Kirk, for coming on Art on the Air.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry and Esther. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM. We'd like to welcome to Art on the Air. He has a deeply personal interpretation of art. His family, their background was making articles for the Catholic Church that includes silversmithing, metalworking, stone carving, and so forth. Came to the United States from India and inspired a whole jewelry collection that's very creative. Please welcome to Art on the Air, Steven Shaikh. Welcome.
Steven, hello.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, Steven, we like to always start off with your background, how you got, like I said, how you got from where you were to where you're now, growing up, everything. So tell us your story.
Well, what happened was my dad was a Catholic and my mom was a Muslim, and so they were, both of them were from South India, and we settled in a town called Pune, which is in central India. And so I grew up with my dad's, I was very interested in my dad's side of the family. And of course, I interacted with both sides of the family, but I was fascinated by my dad's side of the family. And they made church articles for the Catholic Church, chalices and, tabernacles and all of that. And so I went there and, I used to watch and I learned almost everything, including, metalsmithing, silversmithing, and, stone carving and stuff like that. The thing is that I was a very curious child. So I actually I started sculpting Jesus Christ faces on chalk when I was 6 years old. So I was just I just wanted to do everything in art. It was just my passion. But people thought I was crazy, but they always think you're crazy. So then I actually wanted to join arts in college, and unfortunately, my dad said no, that you're going to do business, and I actually finished a degree in business. But I never ever thought that I will actually get into art. So I did just to let my creative juices flow. I actually made wall clocks in India. Then I made other stuff. I was actually into clothing, making really funky clothing in India, and then I used to also do freelance interior decorations for a lot of my friends. So it was like I tried to do something in art even there. But societal pressure of getting married was what really brought me to the United States, and it actually changed the way I look at everything. So what happened was, many girls were introduced to me, and because of my mixed religion, I was considered sort of like not pure enough for either of the religions. So I ended up I almost became a Catholic priest, almost. Yeah. And so my sister, who lives in South Bend, she said, nah, she said, you are not made up to be a priest. So she advertised here in the United States, through the Christian Singles magazine, where there was no internet, and wrote, I received like 6 letters from 6 different ladies from all over the United States. And my sister said she liked my wife, Susan. And really, she was the one who I liked. And we ended up writing to each other for 3 months. Then she called me, and I just knew this was the girl. And then 6 months later, she flew to India. 3rd day after I met her, I proposed to her. And 10 days later, we got married. Yeah. So that was almost...
Stephen, if it's not too personal, what was that first letter like?
Oh,
that introduction letter.
I actually have all of those letters. I've saved all of those. I have a suitcase full of letters we wrote to each other. So I'm going to publish that sometime. Then I actually became a poet after that, after I met Susan. I had never written poetry, and I started writing poetry to her. So yeah, I think what happened was, I do believe that God works in strange ways to bring people together. And even meeting you and meeting Larry today, I think it's God has certain plan. I don't know what it is, or if you don't believe in God, it is the universe. And so I've always believed that there's always something to it. And so I believe that Susan was made for me. And I don't know if Susan will agree, but I was made for her. So
I can attest you both are so sweet together. And I can also attest to the fact that you have an insatiable curiosity, because I've been to a bookstore with you, and you are just all over the place in that bookstore, just wanting to soak it all up. So...
Now, talking about books, actually, that was my first passion. And so people, again, thought I was crazy, because anytime you see me in India walking, I would have a book at my face walking, even cycling. That was how crazy I was on books. Oh. So, yeah. I got into an accident because of that and braked with my face. So after that, I stopped reading on the bicycle. But after I came to the United States, what happened was I started making some of the stuff, like what I had learned. I did carve some boxes and stuff like that. When our child was born in 2000, we decided to do that Susan can stay at home. I said, I'll make some of the stuff which I know and hopefully, sell. And what happened was, when we started at craft shows, and people, some of the men would come and say, oh, I can do that with a Dremel. And I would look at them, totally, I could not comprehend what they were saying, because you could not do some of the work I was doing on a Dremel. So, but the jewelry, the women would just go like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. So then beautiful. Within 2 years, I decided, okay, I'll just do jewelry. And Susan actually, I wanted to do my sculptures, I wanted to do painting. And Susan said, stop, you need to stop. And she said, you are doing jewelry, that's it. And so she put the foot down. Focus. Yes. And so, and that is what happened. And that is how my journey started in making jewelry. And so does that sort of give you a short form answer
Yeah,
of
well,
what go ahead.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that, so I don't know if you want to, can you describe what it was like a day learning? Like, did you learn the craft with your family or?
It
I
was
mean,
the people. It was the people who were employed, and I used to sit with them, and they used to teach me. They liked me, and so now soldering in India was done very differently. So basically, what happened was it is much more. Almost everything is done by hand. So there are very few machines used. So for me, when I came here, it was so much easier because there were so many machines available here and tools available, which we did not have in India. And especially when I was younger, there was no tools. Even when I left India, at that time, the only tool believe it or not, we had was actually a circular saw. That was the first tool which came, and drill. So a drill and a circular saw were the two tools which came, and that was when I was about to leave India. So we didn't have any power tools. Yeah.
yeah, I know
So
it's a very different experience to go and buy wire and to make wire, or
yes.
to pour your own metals into ingot form and then flatten it out. I mean, it really is a whole different experience. And when you start from there, I mean, oh my gosh, you can do anything.
And that's what it is. And especially like, how do I say? Now I had never learned carving silver or any metal, but because I've done all of this, somebody wanted me to do a carved piece, and actually just did last week. I need to take pictures. I keep on forgetting to take pictures. So I did that without any practice. And it is and I do believe, when I was young, I used to think it is me, and it's your ego telling you that. But as you grow older, you realize that it is God's gift to you, or the universe's gift to you, because whatever you do, and again, it's your ego which stops you from accepting that fact.
Well, the rich culture, especially in jewelry, jewelry is one of, India is just world renowned for its elaborate jewelry, and you bring that old world sensibility, but with a modern twist on it. So you can definitely say this. You can see the origins of it, but it's so fresh. And I know Susan helps you with a lot of the stone color combinations, which are just exquisite. And then you took your own love of different things like the arts and crafts movement or a Japanese sensibility. And you've expressed that in the jewelry. Like the newest things that I've seen or recently seen is like the cosmos, which has a very, to me, Japanese sensibility, very clean. And so so what was the progression of all of that, I guess? Because I guess initially you would do the things that you were most familiar with, which were the designs of your culture.
And most of the jewelry we make in India is basically most of it's I'm trying to find the right technical term. It might be called sweat soldering, maybe. That might be the right term. But we use, for almost everything, we use bezel setting. Mm-hmm. We rarely ever use prong setting. So for me, actually, believe it or not, I can set a bezel in believe it or not, in like 15 seconds flat, while a prong will take me probably 5 minutes. That's why I'm very comfortable with bezel setting. So what happened was, because everything in our culture, the designing is so complicated. To tell you the truth, when I went to a 7-day Adventist school in India for my, when I was in my primary and my secondary school, and in the art class, that's what they used to teach us, is to draw intricate patterns free form. So we used to take a page and fold it and then do matching stuff on each side. And that's how jewelry is made. Basically, there is a balance to each one of them. So basically, how do I say? The art form in India is symmetry. So that's what it is. So everything is symmetrical, and a lot of intricate designs. So any intricacy is actually appreciated. While if you go towards some any like straight lines, and they say, it's a very simple piece. And so what happened was, when I came here, there were two reasons I actually shifted towards the more modern and more contemporary, design aspects of jewelry. One was because I just fell in love with Frank Lloyd Wright's homes. So I actually went and visited. I visited 3 of his homes. Yeah, 3 of his homes. Yeah, the one in Chicago, one in Scottsdale, and then the Falling Waters. So I visited. But the first one I visited was actually the Oak Park one in Chicago. And oh my God, when I saw that, I just said, the simplicity of the concept itself pulled me towards it. So, it's like, how opposites attract.
Yes.
So it was like, all this intricate design, and then immediately you see at the simplicity of the design, and then you see the beauty of it, and I was just attracted to it. And then the second part was that I could actually make more jewelry doing the simpler pieces than doing the intricate pieces, and I could make it affordable and make a little, because when I did the jewelry, it was really not so much for money, but also something to share. Right. But then as I grew older, we needed the money. So I said, okay, we need a little extra money. So I needed to make it more simpler. So it all fell into place. So again, like I said, how I said the universe plays a role into that. So somehow I ended up at Frank Lloyd Wright's home so that I could switch over to the simpler designs. Just love it.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
Did Susan work with you from the beginning? How did her color play come into things?
She always did the color, always. And I had a block. I mean, I did it for like 8 or 9 years, and then I actually I could not. My mind stopped working for design, so I actually was about to quit. And then of course, Abby found out, and then they called me and said, you can't quit, ask Susan to help you design. So Susan started designing after that. And she does this really weird sketches. She's not a good sketcher, but I actually know exactly what she wants. And Larry, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was going to ask you, do you have any favorite stones? I was looking at, while you were talking, I was also looking at your website and the Facebook page. Do you have any favorite stones you like to build your jewelry around?
Oh God, yes. And actually I've got a stone. I wish I would have taken it out so I could show you. It is it's called agatized coral, which I got a singular piece, and I just keep it. I'm never going to make a piece of jewelry. It is just it looks like a stained glass window. It is small. I will send you a picture of it with some light in it. You can. Oh my God! But my favorite stones of all times has been labradorite, which is kind of weird. It just has so many colors, and it is just amazing.
But it's an internal color, it's like it has the appearance of being sometimes a dull gray, but if you look beneath that surface, oh my gosh.
It is. It's sometimes blues, but in the labradorite, I really like the blues. Now, my second favorite stone is azurite, because we went to the Smithsonian, and I actually bought a small piece of azurite. Then I found a person who actually mines his own azurite and chrysocolla from Peru, South America, and bought a bunch of it from them. I wish I could really show it to you. I just love stones. Actually, I go crazy when I see stones. I probably have. Please don't take this as a bragging thing. It's just because I'm crazy. I probably have 12 to 15,000 stones I've collected over 20 years. And it will take me probably 5 lifetimes to make all of the stones. So I don't think so. I just go. What happens is when I see certain stones, I cannot stop from buying it.
Well, they call to you. They actually call to you, I believe. And yes. And it might not be for something that is not meant for right now, but maybe 10 years from now is when you're supposed to use it. But yeah, I understand that. I have that same stone traction.
So I was going to ask you how the whole pandemic has affected you. That's something we've been asking our guests. Has it, first of all, had any influence on your creativity, either positive or negative? And also personally, how has that affected you?
2020 was a little tough because, of course, we all of our shows were canceled. And we did take a financial hit, but I believed in, like I said, I believe this is God. God didn't want me to make any more money that year, so I said, okay, the God wants me to rest, so I rested. But it did cause a lot of, always, afraid of the unknown, sort of, whether we will get COVID or not. And we were very careful. We got the vaccine and all of that, but even then, you never know. So personally, we did lose a lot of friends. I actually lost 3 of my family members at the beginning of this year in India, that second wave. But my mom's youngest brother, my first cousin, and then a nephew within 5 days of each other. And so for me, COVID has sort of made me realize how much we need to care for each other, and especially artists, we need to not only be supportive of each other, but, really care for each other. So that's what it is. So it has been really a positive for me in a sense, personally. I would say spiritually in that sense.
And the follow-up to that, what are you looking forward to after we get out the other side of this pandemic? I've always been a positive person. I don't know why I'm like this. Believe it or not, I'm not afraid of anything. When I say I was stressed out about how it's going to affect us, I was not afraid for me. I was afraid for my child and my, Susan. But I always believe that, how do I say, when you are bodybuilding and you're lifting heavy weights, a lot of your muscle cells are destroyed while you're doing that. But that destruction actually makes your body works harder, and it actually makes more muscles, and you become stronger. So I think from that perspective, yes, COVID has hit us, and yes, it looks very bleak. But humans have survived some of the worst things, and the key is, as long as we love each other and respect each other's opinions and not fight between each other, we will be fine. We'll all be fine on the other side. That's what I believe. That's a beautiful sentiment. I'm very happy to hear that. Is there any unexplored jewelry you haven't made that you're wanting to make? Well, I started making a gold and silver combination, and I just love how gold and silver look look actually, what happened was this again was because of I display my work at the Fort Wayne Museum of Art, and the gold was a little economically for us it was a little difficult to make. So then I said, let us do silver and gold together. And so that's what I started, and I really love it. The next step is to actually start coloring. Not coloring means oxidizing the silver and doing other stuff. So how do I say? I'm always, like I said, very curious. So I always try to do, means every year, I'm actually, to tell you the truth, I'm so excited sometimes that when I'm doing like, I sound like a child, So next, experimentation will be actually making sculptural carved pieces in silver and layered pieces. That is my new endeavor. So I don't know yet. I already did 2 or 3 pieces, but we'll see.
Are you doing any outdoor markets, Steven, for the holidays, or? Last
Saturday was our last one, outdoor one. We the Monument Circle Art Show, but it rained out. So, but we did not as good as we did normally, but we did do good. But the next art show will be in Lansing, Michigan. It's the Michigan State University. And then I do a fundraiser for United Way, which is actually one of my biggest shows. So I'm actually, getting precious and semi-precious stones. And Larry, that is my specialty. I can get stones at prices you can't even imagine.
Excellent. Well, real quickly, we're about ready to wrap up. Tell us how people can find your work, website, Facebook, and other things, Steven.
At present, I'm on the website at sanmartindesigns.com. But also, like if they contact me and say they want a special piece or any color, they can actually email me direct from there. And I can, if I don't have it, I'll make it for them. And I don't charge anything extra for that. And then basically, I just finished a course on Rhino Gold, so I can even do cast pieces. But on Rhino Gold, I'm just doing like gold work, not silver, because it's cost, yes. But then the Fort Wayne Museum of Art, actually the Lubeznik Center is also where my work sells, but they have not contacted me for some time, so I don't know if they need anything. And of course,
the Nest,
the Nest, which will be actually, I just finished doing it today, so we'll be mailing that tomorrow at the Nest.
We really appreciate you coming on Art in the Air. It's Steven Shaikh of Sam Martin Designs, and you can see some of the things at Lubeznik and the Nest, one that's going to be open. Steven, thank you so much for sharing your art with us on Art in the Air.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Steven.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steven.
You've been listening to Art in the Air, and we'd like to thank our guests this week on WVLP 103.1 FM and Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, our weekly program covering arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art in the Air is heard every Friday at 11 a.m. and rebroadcast Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP. Art in the Air streams live at WVLP.org and is rebroadcast on Monday at 5 p.m. Plus is also heard on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM every Sunday at 7 p.m., also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Thanks again to Greg Kovach, WVLP Station Manager, and Tom Maloney, Vice President of Radio Operations for Lakeshore Public Radio. Our theme music is by Billy Foster, with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant and the National Endowment for the Arts. Underwriters for Art in the Air, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments and Mary Levan, Arts Patron. Art in the Air is always looking for financial support. We'd like to thank our current supporters. If you're looking to support Art in the Air, Esther and I especially would invite you to become an underwriter of this program in particular. We have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA. You can find out support information there. So don't just be an Art on the Air listener. Become a supporter or underwriter in whatever amount you're able to do so we continue to bring you great content and this great local programming. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. And you'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That's Breck, BRECH.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck, BRECH.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the Air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the Air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your